We know you've been spending company money on training courses. The CEO's niece snapped. You're terminated. I looked at Logan, my son, 32 years old, standing there in a suit I'd helped him pick out 5 years ago for his first real interview. His face was blank, not apologetic, not conflicted, just blank. Mira stood beside him, her hand resting possessively on his forearm. She'd worn her power suit today, red, aggressive, the kind of thing someone wears when they want everyone to know they're in charge. Her smile was thin and sharp. Dad, Logan said, this is business. Business, right. I'd built this company from nothing. 26 years ago, I'd been working out of a garage, writing operations manuals by hand, cold calling distributors until my voice gave out. I'd brought Logan in when he graduated college, taught him everything, every system, every contact, every trick to keep things running when the unexpected hit. Now he was firing me, in front of 12 employees, in the break room, like I was some intern who'd stolen office supplies. The training courses were approved, I said quietly. I have the emails. We reviewed the expenses, Mira said. Her voice had that particular tone, the one she used when she'd already decided she was right, and any evidence to the contrary was just noise. They were unauthorized. I looked at Logan again. You know that's not true. He didn't meet my eyes. We've made our decision. Around us, the other employees weren't even pretending to work. Rita from accounting had her hand over her mouth. Marcus from the loading dock looked like he wanted to say something but didn't dare. Sarah from HR was typing frantically on her phone, probably updating her resume. I could fight this. I could pull out my phone right now, show them the approval chain, embarrass them both in front of everyone. But what would be the point? Logan had already chosen. He'd chosen her. I unclipped my badge from my belt and set it on the table. The plastic made a small clicking sound against the laminate surface. Logan, I said, you have 8 hours until everything stops running. Tell everyone good luck. Mira's smile widened. Is that a threat? It's a fact. I looked at my son one more time. 8 hours. I walked out. Behind me, I heard Mira laugh. That sound followed me all the way to my truck. The parking lot was empty except for a few cars. Mine was the oldest vehicle there. A 2008 Ford F-150 with rust spots on the wheel wells and a crack in the windshield I kept meaning to fix. Logan drove a new Lexus. Mira had a BMW, both leased through the company. My hands shook as I unlocked the door, not from fear, from rage. I sat in the driver's seat and didn't start the engine. I just sat there, breathing, trying to process what had just happened. My phone buzzed. Jane. Are you okay? She texted. Jane, my wife, the smartest person I'd ever met, and the only one who'd seen this coming. On my way home, I typed back. I'll make coffee. I started the truck and pulled out of the lot. In my rearview mirror, I could see the building, gray concrete and glass, 3 stories. We'd expanded twice. Each expansion had been my idea, my planning, my execution. Now I was exiled. The drive home took 15 minutes. We lived on the outskirts of town, in a neighborhood that had been cheap when we'd bought in, but was now surrounded by new developments with names like Meadowbrook Estates and Willow Ridge. Our house was small. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen that needed updating. We'd always planned to move somewhere bigger, but there had always been something more important. Logan's college, the business, life. Jane was waiting on the porch when I pulled up. She was 54, with gray streaks in her dark hair that she refused to dye and sharp green eyes that missed nothing. She was wearing jeans and one of my old work shirts, the sleeves rolled up to her elbows. Coffee's inside, she said. I followed her into the kitchen. The house smelled like fresh brewed dark roast. She'd made a full pot. She poured 2 mugs and handed me one. Tell me, she said. I told her everything. The break room, Mira's accusations, Logan's face, the badge on the table. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, The training courses were approved. I saw the emails myself. I know. This isn't about money. She sipped her coffee. This is about control. Mira wants you gone because you're the only one who questions her decisions. Logan chose her over me. Logan is an idiot. Jane's voice was flat. No anger, just fact. He's always been easily influenced, you know that, and Mira knows that. She's been working on him for months. I noticed. Did you notice what she's been telling him? Jane set down her mug and pulled out her phone. I've been keeping track. Coffee room gossip, overheard conversations. Things don't add up, Darren. She showed me her notes, dates, times, snippets of conversation she'd collected from friends who still worked at the company. March 14th. Mira told Logan that you were planning to leave the business to your daughter from your first marriage. March 22nd. Mira suggested that your experience was outdated and the company needed younger leadership. April 3rd. Mira convinced Logan to restructure the pension plan. Your contributions were moved into a performance-locked account that requires board approval to access. I read through the list. My coffee went cold in my hand. She's been planning this, I said. For months, Jane confirmed, and she's been smart about it. Nothing illegal. Nothing you can sue over. Just whispers and suggestions and small changes to policy that all add up to you losing everything. How did you get all this? I have coffee with Rita every Tuesday. She talks. Jane smiled, but it wasn't a happy expression. And I listen. I set down my phone and looked at my wife. Really looked at her. She'd been watching this unfold, gathering evidence, preparing for the moment when Logan would finally pull the trigger. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Would you have believed me? She asked. Would you have believed that your son was planning to push you out? She was right. I wouldn't have. Even now, part of me wanted to believe this was a misunderstanding, that Logan would call any minute and apologize, that we'd work this out like adults. But I knew better. 8 hours, Jane said. What happens in 8 hours? I thought about the company, the systems, the operations. Everything was interconnected. Everything depended on knowledge that only I had. Passwords, vendor contacts, manual overrides. Logan thought he knew how to run things. He didn't. He knew the theory. He knew the policies. But he didn't know the reality. The 1,000 small details that kept everything functioning. In 8 hours, I said, the overnight shipping processing starts. Logan doesn't know how to handle the vendor portal. The system will crash. Can he figure it out? Maybe, if he has help. But there are 12 other systems that will start failing over the next 48 hours. The forklift maintenance schedule, the cold storage backups, the payroll verification. I've kept everything running for 26 years. They think it just works by itself. Jane smiled. Let it fail. That's my life's work. That was your life's work. Now it's Logan's problem. She refilled her coffee. He fired you, Darren. He chose her. He stole your pension. He humiliated you in front of your employees. You don't owe him anything. I knew she was right, but it still hurt. My phone buzzed, a text from Logan. We need the passwords for the vendor portal. I showed Jane. She laughed, actually laughed. 8 hours, she said. You were off by 6. I didn't respond to the text. I just turned off my phone and drank my coffee. Before we continue, hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We'd love to get to know our audience better. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. Logan's childhood, his teenage years, the fights we'd had, the conversations, the proud moments when he'd figured something out on his own, the disappointments when he'd taken shortcuts or made excuses. I'd always thought he'd grow out of it. The entitlement, the assumption that success came easy because he'd never really struggled. I'd given him everything I never had: stability, education, opportunity. Maybe that had been the mistake. At 5 in the morning, I gave up on sleep and went to the kitchen. Jane was already there, laptop open, drinking tea. Couldn't sleep either, I asked. I've been researching. She turned the laptop toward me. Did you know Mira worked for 3 other companies before ours? She lasted an average of 14 months at each one. Logan knew that. Did he know she was asked to leave 2 of them? Jane clicked through some pages. Not fired, asked to leave. There's a difference. It means they wanted her gone but didn't want to deal with potential lawsuits. How did you find this? LinkedIn, company reviews, a few phone calls to people I know. Jane pulled up another page. She's good at making herself look indispensable. She did it at every company, attached herself to someone with power, made them dependent on her, then used that position to consolidate control. She's doing it to Logan. She's already done it. He's completely dependent on her, professionally and emotionally. Jane closed the laptop. The question is, what are we going to do about it? I poured myself coffee. What can we do? I've been fired. I have no leverage. You have knowledge. That's leverage. Jane stood and pulled a folder from under a stack of mail. I went to the warehouse yesterday, before they fired you. I had a feeling something was coming. She opened the folder. Inside were photocopies of documents, operations manuals, vendor contracts, system diagrams. These are proprietary, I said. These are yours. You wrote them. You designed these systems. Just because the company owns the originals doesn't mean you can't keep copies of your own work. She smiled. Besides, I made these weeks ago, while I still had access. I flipped through the documents. Everything was there. Everything Logan would need to keep things running. Everything he didn't know he needed. You planned this, I said. I prepared for the possibility. There's a difference. Jane sat back down. Darren, they've been planning to push you out for months. We'd be idiots not to have a backup plan. My phone buzzed again. I'd turned it back on an hour ago. Another text from Logan. Dad, we need to talk. The systems are failing. Then another one. This isn't funny. People are depending on these shipments. And another. Please. That last one made me hesitate. Please. Logan never said please, not to me. He'd learned early that I'd help him no matter what, that I'd fix his problems, that I'd clean up his messes. Maybe it was time he learned to clean up his own. Are you going to respond? Jane asked. No. Good. She stood and put on her jacket. Get dressed. We're going somewhere. Where? To get something they don't know we have. 30 minutes later, we were driving across town to the industrial district. The sun was just coming up, turning the sky orange and pink. Traffic was light. Most people were still asleep or just starting their morning routines. Jane directed me to a storage facility I'd driven past 100 times, but never really noticed. She had a key. When did you get this? I asked. 3 months ago, when Mira started restructuring the pension plans. The storage unit was small, 10 by 10. Inside were boxes, lots of boxes, all labeled in Jane's neat handwriting. Operations manuals, original drafts, vendor contacts, personal records, system diagrams, pre-digital, employee reviews, confidential. You've been preparing for this for months, I said. I've been preparing for the possibility. I hoped I was wrong. Jane pulled out one box and opened it. Inside was a 3-ring binder, thick, old, the kind we used before everything went digital. She handed it to me. I opened it and immediately understood why we were here. Inside were the original operations plans for the company's cold storage system, the one I'd designed 17 years ago, the one that had been upgraded and modified so many times that nobody remembered how the foundation worked anymore. The one that was currently responsible for storing $73 million worth of temperature-sensitive products. They computerized this system 4 years ago, I said. They computerized the interface. The physical infrastructure is still the same. And if something goes wrong with the digital controls, you need to know how the manual systems work. Jane smiled. Do you think Logan knows how to manually override the cold storage temperature controls? No. Do you think he even knows there are manual overrides? No. Then we have leverage. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was a call. Logan. I let it go to voicemail. 30 seconds later, Jane's phone rang. Also Logan. Don't answer, I said. I wasn't planning to. She silenced her phone. Let him panic. Let him figure out what it's like to be powerless. We loaded the binder and 3 other boxes into my truck. As we drove away, I saw a black Lexus pull into the storage facility lot. That's Logan's car, Jane said. How did he know we were here? He didn't. He's checking everywhere. She looked back. He's desperate. At home, we spread the documents across the dining room table. Jane made more coffee. I studied the operations manuals, looking for weak points, places where the company was vulnerable, systems that would fail without proper maintenance. There were dozens. The forklift maintenance was 3 weeks overdue. Logan didn't know because I'd always handled it personally, calling the service company directly, making sure it happened on schedule. Without that maintenance, at least 2 of the forklifts would start having brake problems within 48 hours. The cold storage backup generator hadn't been tested in 6 months. Logan didn't know it needed monthly tests. If there was a power outage, they'd have about 4 hours before $73 million worth of product started to thaw. The payroll verification system required manual input from 3 different departments. Logan knew about 2 of them. The third was a redundancy I'd built in after an embezzlement scare 8 years ago. Without that third verification, payroll would be delayed by at least a week. He's going to figure some of this out, Jane said. Eventually, but not fast enough. I made notes on a legal pad. He'll waste time trying to access systems he thinks are automated. He'll miss deadlines. Vendors will get angry. Customers will complain. The board will start asking questions. How long until it all falls apart? 48 hours? Maybe 72 if he's lucky, and nothing else goes wrong. Jane's phone buzzed. A text from Rita in accounting. Logan is in the server room. He's panicking. Mira is screaming at everyone. Nobody knows what to do. Jane showed me the message. I felt a dark satisfaction reading it. Then another message. They're talking about calling you back, offering you a consulting contract. Let them talk, I said. My phone rang again. This time it was a number I didn't recognize. I answered. Mr. Hale? This is Derek Chen from Apex Logistics. We're trying to process a shipment through your company's portal, but we're getting error messages. Is there a system outage? I wouldn't know, I said. I was terminated yesterday. You'll need to speak with Logan Hale. I've been trying to reach him for 3 hours. Nobody's answering. I'm sorry, but I can't help you. I hung up. Jane was watching me. That felt good, didn't it? It shouldn't. But it did. She was right. It did. Over the next 2 hours, I received 11 more calls, vendors, customers, service companies, all of them asking about system failures, all of them unable to reach Logan. I didn't help any of them. At noon, someone knocked on our door. Jane looked through the peephole. It's Marcus from the loading dock, she said. I opened the door. Marcus was a big guy, 6'3", 230, most of it muscle from years of moving freight. He'd worked for me for 12 years, reliable, honest, the kind of employee you build a company around. Mr. Hale, he said, I heard what happened. I wanted to say it's bullshit. We all think so. I appreciate that, Marcus. Logan's losing it. He's been screaming at everyone. The systems are down. The forklifts aren't working right. We've got 3 trucks that can't unload because the bay doors won't open. He's asking if you'll come back. No. Marcus nodded slowly. I figured, but I had to ask. For what it's worth, half the warehouse crew is talking about quitting. Nobody wants to work for him. Tell them to do what's best for their families, I said. But I'm not coming back. After Marcus left, Jane said, "You've destroyed his credibility in less than 24 hours." "I haven't destroyed anything. I just stopped protecting him from his own incompetence." My phone rang again. This time it was Mira. I answered. "Darren." Her voice was tight, controlled. "We need to talk." "No, we don't." "Yes, we do. The company is falling apart. Logan needs help. He fired me. He can figure it out himself." "Don't be childish." There was an edge to her voice now. The control was slipping. "This is bigger than your pride. People's jobs are at stake." "People's jobs were at stake when you convinced Logan to fire me. We can negotiate. A consulting contract, good pay. You come in, fix the systems, everyone moves on." "No. Don't be stupid. This is your life's work. You're going to let it all collapse because you're angry?" "I'm not angry, Mira. I'm done." I hung up. Jane smiled. "You're starting to enjoy this." Maybe I was. At 6 a.m., I woke to the sound of breaking glass. I grabbed the baseball bat I kept by the bed and ran to the living room. The front window was shattered. A brick lay on the carpet surrounded by glass shards. Jane came out of the bedroom. "What happened?" "Someone threw a brick through our window." I looked outside. No vehicles, no movement. Whoever did it was already gone. Taped to the brick was a note. "Stop, or it gets worse." No signature, but I knew who sent it. "Mira," Jane said. "Probably." "We should call the police." "And tell them what?" "We have no proof, no witnesses, just a brick and a threatening note." I picked up the glass carefully. "They'll file a report and nothing will happen." "So we do nothing?" "No, we escalate." Jane smiled. "What do you have in mind?" I pulled out my phone and sent a text to Marcus. "I need to get into the warehouse, tonight. Can you help?" The response came back 30 seconds later. "Back door, 9 p.m. I'll make sure the cameras are off." At 8:30, Jane and I drove to the industrial district. We parked 3 blocks away and walked to the warehouse. The building was dark except for a few security lights. Marcus was waiting at the back door. "Mr. Hale," he said, "I shouldn't be doing this." "I know, I appreciate it." "What are you looking for?" "Anything that proves Mira has been stealing from the company. Financial records, emails, anything." Marcus nodded. "Logan's office or Mira's?" "Mira's." He led us through the dark warehouse. The smell was familiar, motor oil and cardboard and that particular scent of concrete and metal that every warehouse has. I'd spent 26 years breathing that smell. Mira's office was on the 2nd floor. Marcus unlocked it with a master key. "I'll be downstairs," he said. "You've got 30 minutes before the next security sweep." Jane and I got to work. Mira's office was immaculate. Everything perfectly organized. Everything labeled. She was obsessive about control. That would make her predictable. Jane went through the filing cabinets while I checked the computer. It was password protected. I tried a few obvious combinations. Nothing worked. Then I remembered something. A conversation I'd overheard 6 months ago. Mira talking to Logan about her favorite vacation spot. I typed, "Santorini 2024. The computer unlocked. "Amateur," I muttered. Jane looked over. "You're in?" "I'm in." I started going through files, emails, spreadsheets, documents. Most of it was routine business stuff, but then I found a folder labeled Personal. Inside were scanned documents, bank statements, wire transfer records, all in Mira's name. And they showed regular payments from 3 different vendor companies. $5,000 here, $10,000 there. Over the past 18 months, she'd received nearly $200,000 in consulting fees from companies that did business with our company. "Kickbacks," Jane said, reading over my shoulder. "Not illegal, technically, but definitely unethical." I copied the files to a USB drive. "And definitely something the board would want to know about." I kept digging. More emails, more documents. And then I found something interesting. A folder labeled Logan. Inside were voice recordings, dozens of them. All of conversations between Mira and Logan. I clicked on one at random. Mira's voice. Your father is holding you back. You're smarter than him, more modern. You understand how business works now. Logan's voice. I don't know. He built this company. He knows things I don't. Mira. He built it 26 years ago. Things have changed. You need to take control before he runs it into the ground. I clicked on another one. Mira. Did you know your father is planning to leave everything to his daughter, your half-sister, the one he barely talks to? He doesn't think you're capable of running the business. Logan. That's not true. Mira. It is. I heard him talking to his lawyer. He doesn't trust you. I felt sick listening to it. Every word was a lie. Every conversation was manipulation. She's been recording their conversations, Jane said. Building a case against you. Making sure Logan would turn on you. This is evidence, I said, of manipulation, of fraud, of nothing we can use in court, Jane interrupted. These recordings were made without consent. They're inadmissible, and even if they weren't, proving manipulation in a family business dispute is nearly impossible. Then what good are they? Leverage. Jane smiled. We can't use them in court, but we can use them everywhere else. I copied everything to the USB drive. Emails, bank statements, voice recordings, all of it. Marcus appeared in the doorway. Time's up. Security sweep in 5 minutes. We left quickly. By the time the security guard made his rounds, we were 3 blocks away, sitting in my truck, looking at everything we'd stolen. What now? Jane asked. Now we give Mira a choice. Stop threatening us, or we release everything to the board, the vendors, and anyone else who'll listen. You think she'll back down? No, but it'll be fun to watch her try to threaten her way out of this. At home, I sent Mira an email from an anonymous account. We have your financial records. We have your voice recordings. We have proof of everything you've done. Stop the threats, or we release everything. The response came back in 10 minutes. You're bluffing. I sent her one of the bank statements. Just one. The one showing a $15,000 payment from Westfield Logistics, marked as a consulting fee. The next response took longer. What do you want? Nothing. Just stop. Leave us alone. Let the company fail on its own. The company is Logan's future. Logan's future died when he chose you over his father. Now let it die quietly. No response. Jane and I went to bed. This time I didn't sleep well. I kept thinking about Logan, about the years we'd spent together, the good times, the bad times, the moment he'd been born and I'd held him and thought, this is it. This is why I'm alive. Now that was gone, destroyed by a manipulative woman and my son's own weakness. At 3 a.m., my phone rang. Logan. I didn't answer. At 3:15, he called again. I didn't answer. At 3:30, someone started pounding on the door. I grabbed the bat again and went to the door. Through the peephole, I saw Logan. He looked worse than before. His suit was filthy. His face was bruised. He'd been in a fight. I opened the door. Dad, he said, please. I need to talk to you. Go home, Logan. I can't. Mira left. She took everything. The money from our accounts, the car. She's gone. I didn't feel surprised, just tired. That's not my problem. The company is going bankrupt. The board called an emergency meeting. They're going to force me out. I'll lose everything. He was crying now. Please, I need help. I need you. You had me. You fired me. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Mira manipulated me. She lied to me. She used me. He grabbed my arm. Dad, please, I'm your son. I looked at his hand on my arm, then at his face. You're not my son. My son wouldn't have done what you did. I pulled my arm away and closed the door. Behind it, I heard Logan collapse. I heard him sobbing. I heard him begging. I walked away. Jane was standing in the hallway. That was cruel. He earned it. I know. She came over and hugged me. But it still hurts, doesn't it? Yes. We stood there for a long time, holding each other, listening to Logan cry on the other side of the door. Eventually, he left. The next morning, the news broke wide open. Local business reporter, Logan Hale, CEO of Hale Logistics, has been forced out by the board of directors following catastrophic system failures that resulted in losses exceeding $80 million. The company has filed for bankruptcy protection. 48 employees have been laid off. Vendors are filing lawsuits. Industry experts say this is one of the worst management failures they've seen in years. Jane and I watched it on the local news. The reporter was standing outside the warehouse. In the background, I could see employees carrying boxes out to their cars. The company was dead. "How do you feel?" Jane asked. "I don't know." That was honest. I didn't know. Part of me felt vindicated. Part of me felt empty. Part of me wanted to cry. My phone rang. A number I didn't recognize. I answered. "Mr. Hale? This is Jennifer Walsh from the business section of the Tribune. I'm doing a story on the collapse of Hale Logistics. Would you be willing to comment?" "No. I understand you were fired shortly before the collapse. Some people are saying you sabotaged the systems. Is that true?" "I was fired. I went home. What happened after that is not my responsibility. But you built those systems. You knew they would fail without you." Logan Hale chose to fire the only person who knew how to maintain those systems. That's his decision, not mine. "So you're admitting you could have prevented this?" "I'm admitting I was fired, and I had no obligation to continue working for free." I hung up. Jane was watching me. "That interview will make you look bad." "I don't care. The community will blame you. They'll say you destroyed 48 jobs out of spite. They can say whatever they want. I know the truth." Over the next week, the story grew. The business section ran multiple articles. The bankruptcy proceedings became public record. Vendors talked to reporters. Employees talked to reporters. And slowly, the truth came out. Mira's kickbacks, her manipulation, her sudden disappearance, Logan's incompetence, the penny-wise decisions that had gutted the maintenance budget, the arrogance that had led him to fire the one person who could have saved the company. Public opinion shifted. It started with a comment on a news article, someone who'd worked at the company. An anonymous post that said, "Logan Hale fired his own father in a break room in front of a dozen people. He humiliated a man who built that company from nothing. The collapse is karma." Then another comment. "I worked there. Darren Hale was the only competent person in management. Logan was a joke. Everyone knew it. We were just waiting for the collapse." Then another. "Mira Hale was stealing from vendors. Everyone knew it. She was manipulating Logan. He was too stupid to see it." The narrative changed. Suddenly I wasn't the villain. I was the victim. The father who'd been betrayed by his son. The builder who'd watched his life's work destroyed by incompetence and greed. I didn't enjoy it. I just felt hollow. Jane tried to cheer me up. She made my favorite meals. She suggested we take a trip. She reminded me that we'd won. That Logan had lost everything. That justice had been served. But it didn't feel like justice. It felt like waste. Then, 2 weeks after the company collapsed, someone knocked on the door. It was Marcus. "Mr. Hale," he said, "some of us have been talking, the guys from the warehouse. We want to start something new, a logistics company, smaller, leaner, better managed. We want you to help us build it." I stared at him. "Why?" "Because you taught us how to do this right. Because you care about the work. Because we trust you." He handed me a business plan, handwritten, crude, but thorough. "We don't have much capital, but we have skills. We have contacts. We have customers who are looking for alternatives. We think we can make this work." I looked at the plan. It was actually good. They'd thought through the logistics, the costs, the potential markets. What about Logan? I asked. Logan is done. He's working at a call center in the city. Minimum wage. Mira left him with nothing. Marcus shrugged. He calls sometimes, asking if we've seen you, asking if you'll talk to him. We tell him no. Does he need money? Probably. But that's not our problem. I thought about it. A new company. A fresh start. A chance to build something better. I'll think about it, I said. After Marcus left, Jane said, Are you going to do it? I don't know. You should. You're good at this. You love this. And you'll be working with people who respect you. It feels like starting over. It is starting over. But this time you'll do it right. No family, no complications, just work. She was right. But it still felt strange. My phone rang. Logan. I'd been getting calls from him every few days. I never answered. But this time I thought, what the hell? I answered. Dad. His voice was small, broken. Thank you for answering. What do you want, Logan? I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. You were right. Mira was manipulating me. I was stupid. I destroyed everything you built. I destroyed our relationship. I destroyed my own future. I'm sorry. Okay. That's it? Just okay? What do you want me to say, Logan? That I forgive you? I don't. That I'll help you rebuild? I won't. You made your choices. Now you live with them. I'm your son. You were my son. You stopped being my son when you chose a manipulative woman over your own father. When you stole my pension, when you fired me in front of my employees. I didn't know about the pension. Mira handled that. You should have known. It was your company, your responsibility. You can't blame her for everything. There was a long silence. Then Logan said, I'm working at a call center, making $10 an hour. I lost the house. I'm living in a one-bedroom apartment in a bad neighborhood. I have nothing. Good. Dad. You wanted to run the company without me. You wanted to prove you were better than me. You wanted to be the one in charge. Well, you got what you wanted. This is what that looks like. Please. I need help. No, you don't. You need to learn how to survive on your own. You need to figure out how to rebuild your life without anyone else doing it for you. That's what being an adult means. I hate you. Good. Hold on to that. Maybe it'll motivate you to actually make something of yourself. I hung up. Jane was watching me. That was harsh. He earned it. Are you okay? No. But I will be. That night, I read through Marcus's business plan again. It was good. Really good. They'd learned from watching me. They'd paid attention. I called Marcus. I'm in, I said. Let's build something better. We called the new company Hale Logistics. It took 3 months to get everything set up. Licensing, insurance, warehouse space, equipment. Marcus and 5 other former employees pooled their savings. I contributed what was left of my retirement fund after Jane and I paid off the mortgage. It was risky. It was terrifying. It was the best decision I'd made in years. We started small, local deliveries, regional freight, nothing fancy. But we did it right. We maintained our equipment. We treated our employees well. We built relationships with vendors based on honesty and reliability. Word spread fast. Within 6 months, we had contracts with 4 major distributors. Within a year, we doubled our revenue. Within 18 months, we'd hired 23 employees and were looking at expanding into a second facility. Logan called occasionally. I never answered. Jane would sometimes give me updates from Rita, who still kept in touch with some of the old crew. Logan was still at the call center, still broke, still alone. Mira had disappeared. Rumor was she'd moved to another state and was working her manipulation magic on someone else. The lawsuits from the Hale Logistics collapse had been settled. Logan had declared personal bankruptcy. Everything he'd owned was gone. The house, the cars, the expensive suits, all of it. I didn't feel bad for him. One afternoon, I was in the warehouse checking inventory when Marcus came over. Mr. Hale, he said, we've got a visitor. Logan was standing at the entrance. He looked terrible, thin, poorly dressed. His hair was too long. He had the defeated posture of someone who'd given up. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "I heard you started a new company. I wanted to see it." "Now you've seen it. Leave." "Dad, please, can we talk?" "No. Just 5 minutes." I looked at Marcus. He shrugged. "Fine," I said. 5 minutes. We walked outside. Logan stood there, hands in his pockets, looking at the ground. "It looks good," he said. "The new company. I'm glad it's working out." "Was that all?" "No." He took a breath. "I wanted to ask if you're hiring. I need work. I'll do anything. Loading dock, forklift operator, janitor. I don't care. I just need something." I stared at him. "You want to work for me?" "I need to work for someone. Nobody else will hire me. My name is poison in this industry. You're my last option." "That's honest, at least." "So will you hire me?" "No." "Dad." "Logan, you destroyed my life's work. You humiliated me. You stole from me. And now you want me to give you a job?" "I'll work hard. I'll prove myself. I've learned my lesson." "Have you? Or are you just desperate?" He didn't answer. "The answer is no," I said. "Find work somewhere else." "There is nowhere else. I've applied to 63 jobs in the past 4 months. Nobody will hire me. I can barely make rent." "That's not my problem. I'm your son." "No, you were my son. Now you're just someone I used to know." His face crumpled. "I'm sorry. I've said I'm sorry. What else do you want from me?" "Nothing. I want nothing from you. I want you to leave me alone. I want you to figure out your own life. I want you to stop expecting me to fix your mistakes." "I made 1 mistake." "You made 100 mistakes. Firing me was just the most visible one. You trusted the wrong person. You neglected your responsibilities. You took credit for work you didn't do. You were lazy. You were entitled. You were weak." I stepped closer. "And now you're paying the price. That's not my fault. That's yours." Logan's hands balled into fists. For a moment, I thought he might swing at me. Part of me wanted him to. Part of me wanted an excuse to hit back, but he didn't swing. He just stood there, shaking, tears running down his face. "I hate you," he said. "I know." He turned and walked away. I watched him go, watched him get into a beat-up Honda with a cracked windshield, watched him drive away. Marcus came out. "You okay, boss?" "Yeah, I'm fine." But I wasn't fine, not really. That night, Jane and I had dinner, pasta with red sauce, garlic bread, wine. "Logan came to the warehouse today," I said. "I heard. Rita texted me. He wanted a job." "What did you tell him?" "I told him no." Jane nodded. "Good. Is it good? He's my son. He's broke. He's desperate. Maybe I should have helped him." "He wouldn't have learned anything if you helped him. He needs to figure this out on his own." She reached across the table and took my hand. "You gave him 26 years of help, 26 years of teaching, 26 years of support. He threw it all away. That's on him. I know, but it still hurts." "It should hurt. He's your son, but that doesn't mean you have to save him." She was right, but it didn't make me feel better. Over the next few months, Meridian Logistics continued to grow. We landed contracts with 2 national distributors. We expanded into a second facility. We hired another 37 employees. I was making more money than I'd ever made working for Hale Logistics, and I was doing it with people I trusted, people who respected me, people who actually wanted to work. Logan stopped calling. I heard through Rita that he'd moved, left the state. Nobody knew where he'd gone. Good, maybe distance would help him figure things out. Then, one afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Mr. Hale, this is Detective Sarah Brooks from the State Police. I'm calling about your son, Logan Hale." My stomach dropped. "What happened?" He was involved in an altercation at his workplace. He assaulted a supervisor. He's been arrested. He listed you as his emergency contact. We need you to come down to the station." "No." "Sir, he's asking for you." "I don't care. He's not my responsibility." "Mr. Hale, he's your son. He needs help." "He stopped being my son when he destroyed my life. Whatever happens to him now is his own fault." I hung up. Jane was watching me. "Logan's been arrested?" "For assault. He wants me to bail him out." "What are you going to do?" "Nothing." "Darren." "No, I'm done. I gave him everything. He threw it away. He made his choices. Now he lives with them." The phone rang again. The detective. I didn't answer. She called 3 more times. I blocked the number. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Logan, about the kid he'd been, the man he'd become, the choices he'd made. I thought about the moment I'd fired him from my life, the moment I'd closed the door, the moment I'd said, "You're not my son anymore." I'd meant it, but it still hurt. At 3 a.m., I got out of bed and went to the living room. Jane was already there, drinking tea. "Can't sleep?" she asked. "No." "You're thinking about Logan?" "Yes." "He made his choices, Darren. You can't save him." "I know." But knowing didn't make it easier. 3 weeks later, I was at the warehouse when a police car pulled up. Detective Brooks got out. She was in her 40s, gray hair pulled back in a tight bun, the kind of cop who'd seen everything and wasn't impressed by much. "Mr. Hale," she said, "we need to talk. I told you I'm not helping him. I'm not here about bail." The world stopped. "What?" "He's alive. He's in the hospital. Stable condition. But he tried to hang himself in his cell. The guards cut him down in time." She looked at me. "He keeps asking for you." I sat down on a loading crate. I couldn't breathe. "Mr. Hale? Is he okay?" "Physically, yes. Mentally, no. He's on suicide watch. The doctors say he's severely depressed. He needs family support." "I'm not his family anymore." "With all due respect, sir, that's bullshit. He's your son. He made mistakes. He hurt you. But he's still your son. And right now, he needs you." "He needs a psychiatrist, not me." "He needs both." She handed me a card. "This is the hospital, room 314. You should visit him." She left. I sat there for a long time. Marcus came over. "Boss, you okay?" "Jesus. I don't know what to do." "Do you want to see him?" "No, yes, I don't know." I put my head in my hands. He destroyed everything. He doesn't deserve my help. "Maybe not, but you're not the kind of person who walks away from someone in that much pain, even if they deserve it." Marcus was right. I hated that he was right. That evening, I told Jane what happened. She cried. Actually cried. "You have to go see him," she said. "Why? So he can beg for forgiveness again? So I can tell him no again?" "Darren, I supported you through all of this. I helped you destroy the company. I helped you cut Logan out of your life. But this is different. This is life and death. You need to go see him." "What if I don't want to?" "Then you'll regret it for the rest of your life." She was right. I hated that she was right too. The next morning, I drove to the hospital. Room 314. I stood outside the door for 10 minutes, trying to decide if I should go in. Finally, I opened the door. Logan was in the bed. He had bandages around his neck. His wrists were strapped to the bed rails. Safety precaution. He looked over when I came in. "Dad." I did. "Why?" "Because I have nothing. No job, no money, no future, no family. I destroyed everything. And I don't know how to fix it." He started crying. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know you don't forgive me. I know you hate me. But I needed you to know I'm sorry." I sat there, watching him cry, feeling nothing. No, that wasn't true. I felt something. I just didn't know what it was. "Logan," I said, "you made a lot of mistakes. You hurt me. You destroyed my life's work. You chose a manipulative woman over your own father. Those are facts." I know. It just creates new pain. For you. For me. For everyone who cares about you. Nobody cares about me. I'm here, aren't I? He looked at me. Really looked at me. Do you care? I don't know. But I don't want you dead. That seemed to be enough. He closed his eyes. Thank you for coming. I stayed for an hour. We didn't talk much. I just sat there while he slept. When I left, Detective Brooks was waiting in the hallway. How is he? She asked. Alive. Are you going to help him? I don't know. Mr. Hale, I've been doing this job for 23 years. I've seen a lot of family dysfunction, a lot of grudges, a lot of people who held on to anger until it destroyed them. You have every right to be angry at your son. But holding on to that anger will destroy you too. Maybe it's time to let go. He doesn't deserve forgiveness. Maybe not. But you deserve peace. She left. I drove home. Jane was waiting. How is he? She asked. Alive. Broken. Pathetic. Are you going to help him? I don't know. Over the next week, I visited Logan 3 more times. Each time we talked a little more. He told me about the call center, the crappy apartment, the loneliness, the slow realization that he'd destroyed his entire life for a woman who'd never cared about him. He told me he'd tried to find work in the logistics industry, that nobody would hire him, that his name was toxic, that he'd burned every bridge. He told me he'd thought about reaching out to me, that he'd wanted to apologize, that he'd been too ashamed. He told me he'd been living off food stamps and sleeping on an air mattress because he couldn't afford furniture. He told me he'd stopped eating, stopped sleeping, stopped caring, and then he'd tried to end it. I listened. I didn't offer advice. I didn't offer comfort. I just listened. On the 4th visit, Logan said, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect you to help me. I just wanted you to know I understand what I did wrong, and I'm sorry. Okay. That's it? Just okay? What do you want me to say, Logan? I don't know. Anything. Something. Just talk to me like I'm your son. You stopped being my son when you chose Mira over me. Then what am I now? I thought about it. You're someone I used to love, someone I used to trust, someone who betrayed me, someone who's paying the price for that betrayal. Can I ever be your son again? I don't know. He nodded slowly. I guess that's honest. It's all I have. When I left that day, I felt something shift. Not forgiveness. Not reconciliation. Just a small loosening of the anger that had been choking me for months. Jane noticed. You're different, she said. How? Lighter. Less angry. I know. But I didn't help. I could have thrown him a rope. I chose not to. He didn't deserve a rope. Maybe not, but I should have been a better person. Jane hugged me. You're a good person, Darren. You've always been a good person. You just got hurt. Badly. I'm tired of being hurt. Then stop letting him hurt you. She was right. Logan was released from the hospital after 2 weeks. He had mandatory therapy sessions, medication, a caseworker who checked in on him weekly. He called me when he got out. Dad, I just wanted to let you know I'm okay. I'm in a halfway house. I'm getting help. I'm trying to figure things out. Good. I'm still looking for work. Nobody's hiring me. Keep trying. Yeah, I will. There was a pause. Dad, thank you for visiting me. It meant a lot. You're welcome. He hung up. Jane was watching me. Are you going to help him? I don't know. But I did know. I just wasn't ready to admit it yet. A week later, I called Marcus. We need another forklift operator, I said. I'll put out an ad. Don't. I have someone in mind. Who? Logan. There was a long silence. Then Marcus said, Boss, are you sure about this? No, but I'm doing it anyway. The guys aren't going to like it. They remember what he did. I know, but he needs work. Marcus sighed. Your company, your rules. But if he screws up, he's out. Agreed. I called Logan that night. I have a job for you, I said. Forklift operator. Minimum wage. 40 hours a week. No nepotism, no special treatment. You do the work or you're gone. Dad, yes or no? Yes, yes. Thank you. I won't let you down. We'll see. He started the next Monday. I wasn't there. I made sure I was at the other facility. I didn't want to watch him, didn't want to hover, didn't want to give him any reason to think this was anything other than a job. Marcus called me at the end of the day. He did okay, he said. Worked hard, didn't complain, kept his head down. Good. Over the next month, Logan proved himself. He showed up on time. He did his work. He didn't cause drama. He didn't ask for special treatment. The other employees slowly accepted him, not as the boss's son, just as another worker. I still didn't talk to him much. A nod in the hallway, a brief exchange about work schedules, nothing personal. But I was watching, and what I saw was someone who'd been humbled, someone who'd learned, someone who was trying. One afternoon, I was at the warehouse when Logan approached me. Mr. Hale, he said. Not Dad. Mr. Hale. Can I talk to you for a minute? Make it quick. I just wanted to say thank you for giving me this chance. I know I didn't deserve it. You're right, you didn't. I'm trying to earn it. I know. He nodded and walked away. Jane asked me that night how Logan was doing. He's working, I said. He's trying. That's all I can ask for. Are you going to forgive him? Eventually. Maybe. I don't know. You're a good man, Darren Hale. I'm not sure about that. But maybe she was right. Maybe I was. Maybe I'd just been too angry to see it. 6 months later, Meridian Logistics had grown into a mid-sized regional player. We had contracts with 9 major distributors, 2 facilities, 83 employees. Revenue had tripled. Logan was still working as a forklift operator. He'd been promoted to lead operator after 4 months. He was good at it, reliable, hardworking. The other employees respected him. We still didn't talk much, but sometimes I'd catch him watching me, studying how I handled problems, how I talked to employees, how I made decisions. He was learning. Again. One evening, I was in my office when Logan knocked. Mr. Hale, can I talk to you? Come in. He sat down. He looked nervous. I wanted to ask you something, he said, and I'll understand if the answer is no. But I've been thinking about going back to school, getting an MBA, learning how to actually run a business instead of just pretending I know how. Okay. The thing is, I can't afford it. I'm barely making rent as it is. I was wondering if the company had any kind of tuition assistance program. We don't. His face fell. Okay, I understand. But I'll pay for it myself. He stared at me. What? I'll pay for your MBA, on one condition. You finish it. No quitting, no excuses. You see it through to the end. Dad, Mr. Hale. Mr. Hale, why would you do that? Because you're trying, because you're learning, because maybe you deserve a second chance. He started crying. Thank you. I won't let you down. You'd better not. This is expensive. He laughed through the tears. I won't. I promise. Over the next 2 years, Logan worked full-time and went to school at night. He studied logistics, operations management, business strategy. He asked me questions. I answered them. Slowly, things thawed between us. Not back to normal. That would never happen. Too much had been broken. Too much trust had been destroyed. But we found something new. A professional relationship built on mutual respect instead of family obligation. Logan graduated with his MBA, top of his class. He wrote his thesis on ethical leadership in family businesses. I didn't read it. I didn't need to. After graduation, he came to my office. Mr. Hale, he said, I wanted to talk to you about my future with the company. Go ahead. I've learned a lot over the past 2 years. I've proven myself. I've worked hard. I've earned respect. I think I'm ready for more responsibility. What did you have in mind? Operations manager, second shift. It's a position you've been trying to fill for 3 months. He was right. We had been. You think you're qualified? I know I am. I've been doing the work of an operations manager for the past 6 months, just without the title or the pay. He was right about that too. I'll think about it, I said. That night, I talked to Jane. Logan wants to be operations manager, I said. Is he ready? Honestly? Yes. He's worked hard. He's learned. He's proven himself. Then why are you hesitating? Because I'm afraid of trusting him again. I'm afraid he'll revert to who he was. I'm afraid he'll hurt me again. Jane took my hand. You can't live your life afraid of being hurt. If Logan has changed, give him a chance to prove it. If he hasn't, you'll know soon enough. She was right. The next day, I called Logan into my office. You've got the job, I said. Operations manager, second shift. Salary is $58,000. Performance reviews every 6 months. Screw up and you're gone. Thank you, Mr. Hale. Don't thank me. Earn it. He did. Over the next year, Logan proved to be a good operations manager. He was organized, efficient, fair. The employees liked him. The systems ran smoothly. We still didn't call each other dad and son. We were Mr. Hale and Logan, boss and employee. But that was okay. That was what we needed to be. Then, one afternoon, Logan came to my office with a proposal. Mr. Hale, he said, I've been thinking about expansion. We've maxed out our capacity at both facilities. We're turning away contracts because we don't have the space or the manpower. I think we should open a third facility. He laid out a detailed plan. Market analysis, financial projections, risk assessment. It was thorough. It was smart. It was exactly the kind of thing I would have done. This is good work, I said. Thank you. But it's risky. We'd be stretching our capital thin. One bad quarter and we could lose everything. I know, but the potential upside is huge. And I think we can mitigate the risk by securing long-term contracts before we commit to the facility. He was right. Again. I'll think about it, I said. I showed the proposal to Jane that night. She read through it carefully. This is really good, she said. He's learned a lot. He has. Are you going to do it? I think so. Then you trust him again. I trust his work. I'm not sure I trust him. That's a start. I called Logan the next day. We're doing it, I said. Your plan. We'll open the third facility. You'll oversee the project. Thank you, Mr. Hale. Don't thank me. Make it work. He did. The third facility opened 8 months later. It was a success from day one. Logan had secured 5 long-term contracts before we even signed the lease. Revenue increased by 40% in the first year. Meridian Logistics was thriving. Logan was thriving. And I was at peace. Not happy. Not completely. There was too much history for that. Too many scars. But at peace. One evening, Jane and I were having dinner when she said, You've forgiven him, haven't you? I don't know if I'd call it forgiveness, but I've let go of the anger. That's the same thing. Maybe. You should tell him. Why? Because he needs to hear it. She was right. The next day, I called Logan into my office. Sit down, I said. He sat. He looked nervous. I've been thinking about the past few years, I said. About what happened. About how we got here. Mr. Hale, let me finish. You destroyed my company. You betrayed me. You chose a manipulative woman over your family. Those are facts. And for a long time, I hated you for it. He looked at the floor. But over the past 2 years, you've proven yourself. You've worked hard. You've learned. You've become the man I hoped you'd be. And I want you to know that I'm proud of you. He looked up. His eyes were wet. You can call me Dad again, I said, if you want. Dad. His voice broke. Thank you. Don't thank me. You earned it. We didn't hug. We didn't have some big emotional moment. We just nodded at each other, an acknowledgement of where we'd been and where we were now. It was enough. That night, Jane and I celebrated. Not because everything was fixed, it wasn't, but because we'd survived. We'd built something new. We'd found a way forward. The next morning, I was at the warehouse when I got a call from an unknown number. "Mr. Hale, this is Margaret Foster from the Business Development Office. I'm calling to inform you that Hale Logistics has been nominated for Regional Business of the Year. We'd like to invite you to the awards ceremony next month." I'd never cared about awards, but this felt different. "I'll be there," I said. The ceremony was formal, speeches, networking, the usual corporate nonsense. Logan came with me. He wore a suit, the first time I'd seen him in a suit since he'd fired me all those years ago. We didn't win the award. We came in second, but that was okay. Afterward, Logan and I stood outside the venue, watching people leave. "Dad," he said, "I want you to know I'll never forget what you did for me. Giving me a second chance, paying for my education, trusting me again. You earned it. I know. But you didn't have to give it to me. No, I didn't. But you're my son. And sometimes that means giving people chances they don't deserve." He smiled. "I won't waste it." "I know." We stood there in silence for a moment. Then Logan said, "I heard from Mira last week." I tensed. What did she want? Money. She's broke, living in some small town in the Midwest. She wanted me to wire her $5,000. "What did you tell her?" "I told her to go to hell." "Good." She tried to guilt me. Said she'd made me who I am, that I owed her. "You don't owe her anything." "I know, but it was hard. Part of me still feels like I should help her." "That's because you're a good person. But being a good person doesn't mean being a doormat. You learned that the hard way." "Yeah, I did." We said goodbye and went to our separate cars. As I drove home, I thought about everything that had happened, the betrayal, the collapse, the anger, the rebuilding. It had been a brutal few years, but we'd survived. At home, Jane was waiting. "How was it?" she asked. "Good. We didn't win, but it was good. How's Logan?" "Better, stronger. He's finally figured out who he is." "And you? Have you figured out who you are?" I thought about it. I'm a father, a husband, a businessman, someone who was hurt but didn't let it destroy him, someone who chose to rebuild instead of staying angry. That's a good answer. We went to bed. I slept better than I had in years. The next morning I was at the warehouse early. Logan was already there, going through shipment schedules. "You're here early," I said. Couldn't sleep. Wanted to make sure everything was ready for the quarterly review. "You don't need to prove yourself anymore. You've already done that." "I know, but old habits die hard." I smiled. "Good habits. Keep it up." As I walked through the warehouse, I saw employees working, forklifts moving, systems running smoothly, everything I'd built, everything I'd almost lost, everything I'd rebuilt. Marcus came over. "Morning, boss. We're ahead of schedule on the Westfield contract. Logan's system improvements are paying off." "Good. He's really come through, hasn't he?" "He has. You know, a lot of us didn't think he could do it, didn't think he'd change, but he proved us wrong." "He proved himself wrong. That's more important." Marcus nodded. "You're a good man, Mr. Hale. Not many people would have given him a second chance." "He's my son. What else was I supposed to do?" "A lot of people would have walked away. You didn't." I didn't have an answer for that. That afternoon, the first major storm of the season hit. Lightning, thunder, heavy rain. The power flickered, but the backup generators kicked in immediately. Everything kept running. Logan had designed the backup system. It worked perfectly. I called him. "Your backup system is working great." "Thanks, Dad. I wanted to make sure we'd never have another cold storage failure." Mission accomplished. We hung up. Jane came by the warehouse around 5. She brought coffee. "You look happy," she said. "I am. It's been a long road." "It has. But we made it." "Did we win?" I thought about it. Logan had lost everything and rebuilt his life. I'd lost my company and built something better. Mira had disappeared into obscurity. The employees who'd stayed loyal had prospered. The ones who hadn't had moved on. "Yeah," I said, "we won." That night, Logan called. "Dad, I was thinking, maybe we could have dinner this weekend. You, me, and Jane, like we used to." I hesitated. Then I said, "Sure, that sounds good." "Thanks, Dad." After I hung up, Jane said, "You're really forgiving him." "I already forgave him. This is just moving forward." "Good. He deserves it. And so do you." Saturday came. We had dinner at a local restaurant. Nothing fancy, just a family meal. Logan talked about his plans for the company, his ideas for expansion, his vision for the future. I listened. I offered advice. I corrected him when he was wrong. I praised him when he was right. It felt normal. Almost like before, but better, because this time it was built on something real, not obligation, not assumption, just mutual respect and hard work. After dinner, we stood in the parking lot. "Thanks for tonight," Logan said. "Thank you for suggesting it." "Dad, I know we'll never go back to how things were, but I want you to know I'm grateful for where we are now." "Me too." We shook hands. It wasn't a hug, but it was honest. Jane and I drove home. It was a clear night. Stars everywhere. "Are you happy?" she asked. "Yes, I think I am." "Good. You deserve to be." At home, I sat on the porch with a beer. I thought about Hale Logistics, about the company I'd built, the company Logan had destroyed, the company that had been reborn as Meridian Logistics. I thought about betrayal, about revenge, about forgiveness. I thought about how close I'd come to losing everything, and how I'd clawed my way back. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Boss, just got word we landed the Anderson contract. That's the biggest one yet. We're officially a major player now." I smiled. Everything I'd lost, I'd rebuilt. Everything that had been destroyed, I'd recreated. Everything that had seemed impossible, I'd achieved, and I'd done it on my own terms. Jane came out and sat next to me. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "Everything, nothing, just how far we've come." "It's been quite a journey." "It has." "Any regrets?" I thought about it. "A few, but not many." "Good." We sat in silence, watching the night sky. Somewhere across town, Logan was probably working late, planning, strategizing, trying to prove himself. He didn't need to anymore. But I understood why he still did. My phone rang one last time. Logan. "Dad, I'm at the third facility. We've got a problem with the loading dock. The hydraulics are failing. I need your advice." "I'll be there in 20 minutes. I hung up and looked at Jane. "Duty calls?" she asked. "Yeah. Logan needs help." "Go. Help your son." I grabbed my keys and drove to the facility. Logan was waiting outside. "Thanks for coming," he said. "Let's take a look." We went inside. The loading dock hydraulics were indeed failing, but it was fixable. We spent the next hour diagnosing the problem and implementing a temporary solution. As we worked, I showed Logan what to look for, how to troubleshoot, how to think through mechanical problems systematically. He listened. He learned. Just like the old days. When we finished, Logan said, "Thanks, Dad. I couldn't have figured that out on my own." "You would have eventually, but I'm glad I could help." We walked outside. The storm had passed. The air smelled clean. "Dad," Logan said, "I know I've said this before, but I really am sorry. For everything. For being weak. For letting Mira manipulate me. For throwing away everything you built. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it right." "You already have." "Really? Really. You've proven yourself. You've earned back my trust. That's more than most people manage. I don't deserve your forgiveness. Maybe not. But you have it anyway. He smiled. A real smile. The kind I hadn't seen in years. Thanks, Dad. We got in our cars and drove home. At home, Jane was waiting. Everything okay? She asked. Everything's perfect. And it was. Not because everything had been fixed. Not because all the wounds had healed. Not because we'd forgotten what happened. But because we'd survived. We'd rebuilt. We'd found a way to move forward. And that was enough. I sat on the porch one last time that night. I thought about the journey, about where I'd started and where I'd ended up. I'd lost everything, my company, my son, my future, and I'd gotten it all back. Different, changed, but back. That was victory. Not revenge, not destruction, just survival, just rebuilding, just moving forward. I finished my beer and went inside. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new problems, new opportunities. But tonight, I was at peace. And that was the best revenge of all.